Hi, everyone. My name is Anna Horn, and welcome to Feminist Noire. I am a PhD student and a doula, and I'm trying to cultivate a space where Black women and girls are centered with a focus on Black maternal health and motherhood, and sometimes just some other feminist chat. And today, I was just really reflecting about there really being no real method to this vlogging. It kind of reminds me of back in the day, in my college days, university days, when YouTube was fresh on the scene, and you'd open up and just kind of go into other people's lives and other people's worlds, and it was literally just people in their rooms talking, singing, doing whatever it was that you were hooked into. And I remember following a few people um, back in the early days. People like Gots to Be Ocean, who's still around. I remember watching Sugar Free TV. And so if those channels are still around, I know Gots to Be Ocean is still around. Sugar Free TV, I can't remember the woman's name, but she might still have her channel up and running. And I just remember just people just turned on their cameras and talked. It wasn't, like I said, these professional cameras. It wasn't, this like Instagram ready, crystal clear, perfect look. It was just people talking, and that was enjoyable, entertaining. People shared their lives. People found community. And I'm not saying that that's what I'm trying to do necessarily. I don't know what this is. There's no method to it, as I was saying, but I'm getting those vibes. I'm getting those vibes from just turning on the camera and just talking for a few minutes, not very long, um, because that's what I can give. That's what I can give at the moment. So I've been reflecting a lot about the PhD process and linking that with my love of Black feminism and how it's really saved me. Um, and I'll just say this. So, doing a PhD is something that I've wanted to do for a really, really long time. I'll never forget being an undergrad and speaking to in my supervisor's office, my professor in anthropology, and we were just talking, and she made this off comment of like just random comments saying, and when you do your PhD, da 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 da. And I remember having a moment like, PhD, I'm just trying to get through today. Like I'm trying to get through this osteology, physical anthropology class. I don't know about a PhD, but it was in that moment that that was planted in my mind. And I have to say that it wasn't often that I felt teachers took an interest in me and took an interest in my mind, and really saw or nurtured potential in me. It wasn't very often. And, I think my relationship with this professor are one of a few important relationships that I've had with teachers that have really transformed my life. And so it was that moment where it was implanted in my mind, like, you could do a PhD. It never occurred to me before that comment. The fact that she um, saw that for me and saw that I was capable of doing that made a really big difference to me in that moment and throughout my life. So, um, you know, it it hasn't always been easy. Kind of thinking of the right moment, the right time, the right project. There's always barriers, and finding that opportunity. And I think a lot of people who do PhDs um, will have a story of their journey to the PhD, and it's often one that is very rewarding when you get that phone call or that email to say, we'd like to offer you this. And I was very lucky, very, very lucky to get a studentship and to work with a team that I have always admired. So that is, something that, I was really, really grateful. It felt like, wow, I've worked really hard and I've always wanted this and it's happening. And then I think a lot of people share that initial excitement, and then you kind of get into it. The first is amazing, it's fascinating, and you're doing all this reading and thinking. Um, and then I think a lot of PhD students share kind of getting in that midway point and kind of, it's a marathon and not a sprint. And so I start to feel a bit tired, a bit like, oh my God, I'm kind of knee deep in it now. How do I get through this? And I I'm in that spot right now. I'm in that place of, oh my God, what have I signed up for? What am I doing? How am I going to get through this? And that process of just that where most students who are on this path often feel, that's happening on top of just having a baby 8 months ago. And going from a parent of one to a parent of two, which is also a very transitional period. So I've got PhD kind of running along, right? And you have all of those transitional feelings of like going from enthusiastic, happy person to like, oh God, this is real. How am I going to get through this? To just having a baby and being postnatal, postpartum, breastfeeding, um, taking care of, the house and kids and all those things. And then like that transition from one kid to two kids. And parents of multiple kids and caretakers of multiple kids, everyone said going from one to two is very, very difficult. And they didn't add that caveat of, oh, it takes about 2 years to really like feel comfortable. So I most days I feel like up to here in like just life. So all of this is happening at the same time, which is why if I can turn on the camera and say hello and put it out there, I feel like, okay, I've accomplished something. I'm building the feminist noir community and platform. So bear with me, people. Um, and so going back to like where people are in their PhD, kind of in that midway point, usually where it's starting to feel a bit overwhelming. A lot of people, perhaps with a sense of humor and perhaps very seriously, talking about the toll that the PhD can take on your mental health. And it's very isolating. The work is very demanding. I could do a whole other kind of video about support, not necessarily from supervision, but all of those things, supervision, income, all of those things that PhD students are kind of working through in that process. Um, but all of that aside, that could be a whole video. Um, all of that aside, it's just it could be a very challenging time. And a lot of people talk about that. And sometimes, if you're on Twitter, academic Twitter, if you're on Instagram, you'll see memes and you'll see, tweets and things with perhaps a sense of humor, but with a real seriousness about how sometimes um, you feel transformed in a very um, kind of a negative light. How it's very like I just think of like the meme in my head of people going up a roller coaster, happy and excited, and then coming out like skeletons dead on the other side. Because that is the transformation of going in and coming out. And we have a sense of humor about it, right? So if you've done a PhD, if you're a postdoc, if you're doing a PhD, you kind of have that sense of humor about it. And I guess I'm at a point where, with everything that's going on, I feel like a bit numb. I feel a bit numb. And I feel like I had to shake myself a bit, and think about the work that I'm doing and think about the um, why, and not just my personal why of, this is a milestone for me and something that I've worked towards, but bringing it back to Black feminism. Um, I really came to seriously engage with Black feminism in my PhD process. And that is so motivating to me because when I read the work of Black feminism, when I read the work that is focused and centered on Black women, I see myself. There have been times where I just like fell out of my chair with like, because you know how sometimes we do Black people, we just like, just a little bit extra. And so falling out of my chair, reading some of these Black feminist thinkers, and I connect and I engage, and they validate me. They validate my experiences. They show a window and a light of, you know, little Black girl, what you have experienced, what you've endured. You're not alone. There's knowledge here, there's theory here, there's something that the world can learn from. And that to me is inspiring and it's empowering. And I feel like when I come back to that, I get chills, I get motivated. I surround myself with art and poetry and books of people and thinkers that I just inspire me and motivate me. And that brings me, like, centers me and brings me back to why I want to do this and why I feel like I'm contributing to something and building upon something, on my lineage, my Black feminist lineage, and how that's important and that's something to be proud of. Um, and I came back to think, and this is not easy, and it's not easy for me, and I don't feel this way every day, but I just had a moment, which is why I turned on the camera and wanted to share. Excuse me. That I want this journey, I want to walk in joy. I want to walk in peace. I want to walk in growth with this process. And I say that because I often feel overwhelmed about all that's going on in this space. And though it's exciting and it's not many people get to do it. I know that I'm lucky. I know that um, I have a lot to be grateful for. And that can exist as well. And I can also feel the hardships and the difficulties of being a Black woman in academia, raising children, young children in a city that is very expensive, um, and feel financial pressures and feel the parental pressures and feel, all of those things that are like conf- shaped and molded by racism and sexism and classism and all of that paints this picture of like where I am right now and why my experience is also my experience, right? And all of that can exist all at the same time. And so when I have moments where, like today, where I'm wondering how, like, how do we get the motivation, right? We're in academia, we think and we theorize and we write about the injustices of the world, and yet we have to, and we and then we dream and we create and we imagine and reimagine realities that are just, that are fair, that are life affirming. And we do all of that in a space and in a world where we just have to move through the patriarchy, where we just have to move through the systemic racism, where we just have to move through it. And some days I think, what are we writing about? What are we thinking about? Why, when we just have to suck it up and like move through it? Why? You know? Um, and then I come back to my books and I come back to these people who have really, are part of building and thinking through these societies that we want to imagine. And through centering Black women and theorizing from the margins, we can start to reimagine societies and rebuild societies. And so when I come back to that, I think, okay, this is my purpose. This is what I want to do. This is my life's work. This is not um, a trend. I know sometimes the Black people feel like we're on trend and we're off trend, and the resources and the interest in our lives and in our health and in our well-being are, it comes and goes and ebbs and flows. But for me, it will always be centered to my work, always. Um, if that's, you know, in academia or otherwise. So when I come back to that, I feel like I can walk with joy. I can walk with peace. I can walk with a sense of belonging. And I feel like that is the world and that is the confidence that Black feminism has given me through validating me, through seeing my life and my experiences and acknowledging that my race and my gender and my class and my other identities have shaped that, and acknowledging that and not hiding, putting it to the side and making it about, making it more palatable and something for that's nice for everyone. Um, to be able to, and when I say nice for everyone, I obviously mean something that, something that doesn't rub everybody, something that, what am I trying to say? It's really early in the morning. Something that um it doesn't, it's unapologetic. It's unapologetic. Like, I am Black and I am a woman and I can say that and I can make that the point that I want to focus on, the point that I want to just let be. And I'm not going to try to not say Black women because it makes people uncomfortable because they want to talk about all women. And, I think through having that, to being seen in that way, like, I see you, Black girl. That is what I get when I could have a list of books I want to read right now. But like, that is what I get. Like, I see you and you matter and you are important. And I know that the life that you live is shaped by those things. And I see it. And you don't have to hide it and you can just be. That is what Black feminism gives me. And I do think that when I come back to that in my PhD journey, it gives me a sense of why. It gives me a sense of purpose. It gives me a future that I want to imagine, a future where it's not just, where Black feminism is a part of the core curriculum, um, where you don't have to wait until you're 33 years old to be able to feel like you matter, that you're seen, that you belong, that there's a whole lineage that you can be proud of and that you can stand on and that you can see yourself and you see your community and communities and the all the different ways and shapes and sizes um, that communities exist. So if I can just end by saying this, I'm not, I don't put myself out there as someone who's going to give you top tips for doing a PhD or some resources for writing or not right now anyway. And the reason is, you know, from day to day, honey, I don't know how I'm getting through this. It is a day-to-day process for me. So I'm not putting myself out there to be, someone who's going to help you get through your PhD with these top 5 tips. That ain't me. But in thinking about those old school vlogging, kind of just turning on a camera and talking, maybe you will connect and maybe you will see yourself in my story and become inspired. Maybe. Um, and the last thing I'll say is what I will say, the advice that I will put out there is come back to your why. And maybe, just maybe, that will give you some strength, the enthusiasm, the curiosity, the playfulness, the joy that you want and that you deserve when you're doing a PhD. So if you like Black feminism, if you want to know more about Black motherhood and Black maternal health, and if you just want to, be involved in a bit of chat sometimes, I encourage you to subscribe to Instagram and Twitter and my website, all with the handle at Feminist Noire. Thank you so much.